at this diagram, what is the first thing that you understand when you look at this picture? Yes.
Hypercellular.
Very good. Is it not hypercellular? It is hypercellular. Now you tell me, are any of these cells present over here? Are any of these cells looking like dysplastic? Is there any dysplasia that you can see? All of them
Normal
more or
cell.
less are showing a
Formation.
normal differentiation. These are very basic points. Many people they do not understand these points. Very importantly, which series show maximum? We can see that myeloid series shows maximum proliferation over here. Yes or no? And if you appreciate very carefully, there is a peak for two series. One is you are having excessive amount of mature neutrophils. Okay, so there is a peak for two series of cells. Neutrophils plus, if you see, what are these cells? What are these cells? These are myelocytes. So
Myelocytes.
there is a peak of neutrophils and myelocytes. These points are very, very important. On the chromosome number 22, we have a BCR locus. Yes, this is the BCR locus, as we can appreciate. And on the chromosome number 9, we are having the ABL oncogene. Yes or no? So what is happening, that there's a translocation, okay, 922, wherein this ABL fragment is going and combining with the BCR locus, okay, and they are forming a fusional gene called as the ABL. So now I'm going to start with certain myeloproliferative neoplasm, that is your CML. Now, before I go towards the towards your chronic myeloid leukemia, first let me tell you something about myeloproliferative neoplasm. Okay. So you have to understand one thing, that there's a common feature of the myeloproliferative neoplasm that we are going to discuss today. So the common feature is the presence of a mutated, constitutively activated tyrosine kinase that leads to growth factor independence. That means that there is some activated enzymes, okay, and that can act on its own. That is why they are called it as constitutively activated. That is going to lead to growth factor independence. So they are going to drive the cell proliferation without the requirement of a growth factor. Okay, so what do I mean over here? That normally growth factor acts on a growth factor receptor present on the cell surface, and that again stimulates certain cytoplasmic signals, which again goes into the nucleus and stimulates certain transcription factors, and then your cell division continues. This is the normal pathway. But in case of myeloproliferative neoplasm, in the absence of growth factor, the growth factor receptor itself is getting stimulated. Okay. So let us see. So this is one very important feature of all myeloproliferative neoplasm. Now, the mutated tyrosine kinases, which are found in myeloproliferative syndrome, they circumvent the normal control. As I told you, they do not depend on the normal control. Okay, and it leads to growth factor independent proliferation. As I told you, there is a proliferation of the cell without requirement of a growth factor and survival of marrow progenitors. Now, the tyrosine kinase mutations underlying various myeloproliferative neoplasm, remember, do not impair the differentiation. So there is a normal, completely normal differentiation occurs. So there is no problem with the differentiation at all. And all these cells that we see over here, they have normal growth. They do not show dysplasia. Okay, there is no dysplasia. So they do not impair differentiation. And the most common consequence, it is an increase in the production of one or more mature blood elements. So in myeloproliferative neoplasm, either the RBC series or the WBC series or the platelet series, or maybe all of them, they increase in amount. So so excessive amounts of the normal components are seen. Is it very clear to everyone? Okay. Remember one thing, that most myeloproliferative neoplasm, they originate in multipotent myeloid progenitors. Okay, remember, okay, they are originating from multipotent myeloid progenitors. Now, the common features of myeloproliferative neoplasm, it includes increased proliferative drive in the bone marrow. So all the series, erythroid series, WBC series, platelet series, they are going to proliferate rapidly in the bone marrow. Okay. Second thing is that the homing of the neoplastic cells. So all this neoplastic stem cells, that is the neoplastic myeloid series, neoplastic erythroid series, neoplastic platelets. So they all of them, they arise from a defective neoplastic hematopoietic stem cell. Now, these stem cells, they go and they go and they live inside secondary hematopoietic organs. So what are these? The secondary hematopoietic organs, they are the lymph node, they are the spleen, they are the liver. So what is the importance of this line? Any kind of myeloproliferative syndrome, if you see, they will present with extramedullary hematopoiesis. So there will be enlargement of the lymph node, spleen, and the liver. So they produce hepatosplenomegaly. Is this point crystal clear to everyone? Yes, so always you should palpate such patients for hepatosplenomegaly. Now, over a period of time, all this phase will ultimately become spent. They will be exhausted, and ultimately there will be marrow fibrosis followed by peripheral blood cytopenias, and it might also transform into acute leukemia. Are these points crystal clear with regards to your myeloproliferative neoplasm? Yes, everyone. So what are these myeloproliferative neoplasm? Let us see. So under the myeloproliferative neoplasm, we have several headings. So they are, number one, we have chronic myeloid leukemia. Okay. The characteristic mutation in case of chronic myeloid leukemia, it is BCR-ABL fusion gene. Okay. Second MPN is your polycythemia vera. It is showing JAK2 mutation. Third is essential thrombocythemia, which shows JAK2, and along with JAK2, it shows CALR MPL mutation. Primary myelofibrosis, again showing the same mutations. Then there are other myeloproliferative neoplasms like systemic mastocytosis, chronic eosinophilic leukemia, as well as myeloid lymphoid neoplasm with eosinophilia. Now, very important is, although all of these are the myeloproliferative neoplasms, in practice, these four constitute the most important ones. So in exam, you should remember and you should always spell out these first. And you should remember this corresponding mutations that is there. So with this, yes, tell me. Okay. So with this background in our mind, today we are with this background in our mind, today we are going to read about chronic myeloid leukemia. So with this background in our mind, today we are going to read about chronic myeloid leukemia, which is one of your myeloproliferative neoplasm, and it is the most commonly asked exam question. Okay, and it is a very scoring question. Although it is a very common question, I generally find students that they struggle with this answer. Although all textbooks have given all the points very clearly, but all of you do not write this point very clearly. So please pay a lot of attention to CML. Okay, so CML, it is how is CML distinguished from different other myeloproliferative neoplasm? So CML has a characteristic BCR-ABL fusion gene, which is derived from portion of BCR gene on chromosome 22. Remember, this is an MCQ. BCR region on chromosome 22 and ABL gene on chromosome 9. So there is a fusion between these two parts. So let us see. I will just show you one diagram. Okay. So can everyone appreciate this? Yes. Can you appreciate? On the chromosome number 22, we have a BCR locus. Yes. This is the BCR locus, as we can appreciate. And on the chromosome number 9, we are having the ABL oncogene. Yes or no? So what is happening, that there's a translocation, okay, 922, wherein this ABL fragment is going and combining with the BCR locus, okay, and they are forming a fusional gene called as the ABL BCR hybrid gene. Now this ABL BCR hybrid gene, it is encoding a tyrosine kinase that is constitutively active. Constitutively active. What is the meaning of constitutively active? Yes, can anyone tell me? Yes. It acts without any support from growth factor. Without any support from growth factor. Okay. So let us see over here. Okay. So BCR-ABL, this BCR-ABL gene, it is directing the synthesis of a constitutively active BCR-ABL tyrosine kinase. So the gene is the BCR-ABL gene, that is encoding an enzyme called as BCR-ABL tyrosine kinase, which in CML, remember BCR-ABL tyrosine kinase in case of CML, it is 210 kilodalton. Very, very important MCQ. Okay, it is 210 kilodalton in size. Now, in 90% of the cases, the BCR-ABL fusion gene is created by the reciprocal 922 translocation. Okay, the so-called Philadelphia chromosome, also an important MCQ. Now, in the remaining cases, now in the 10% cases, the BCR-ABL fusion gene is formed by cytogenetically complex or cryptic rearrangements and must be detected by other methods like FISH or by PCR. Now, the cell of origin over here in case of CML is a pluripotent hematopoietic stem cell. So, is this very clear to everyone? Yes. Looking at the pathogenesis, as I told you, as I have shown you, so a portion of the BCR in chromosome 22 and a portion of ABL in chromosome number 9, they are coming together at the level of chromosome number 22 and they form a gene called as BCR-ABL gene. This is the gene that is formed. That is basically giving rise to an mRNA, which is going to synthesize a protein, that is your BCR-ABL fusion protein, okay, which is 210 kilodalton in size. And this protein, it dimerizes and becomes functionally active to form a kinase, okay, and this is constitutively active. So this enzyme is by itself active. It is by itself, it is active. By itself, it is active, and it stimulates the growth pathways. So if you remember from the chapter on neoplasia, the growth pathways, they are the RAS pathway, STAT pathway, as well as AKT pathway. And this leads to growth factor independent proliferation and survival of your myeloid series with normal differentiation. There is no problem with the differentiation of the cells at all. Is this point crystal clear to everyone? Which is going from which? BCR in 22 and ABL in 9. So ABL from 9 is going to BCR in 22. And this is called as Philadelphia chromosome. Okay, is this clear to everyone? Now the BCR moiety of this BCR-ABL, it contains a dimerization domain. Please everyone, please mute. Okay. The BCR moiety of the BCR-ABL, it contains a unit dimerization domain that self-associates, leading to activation of ABL tyrosine kinase moiety. So it is the BCR moiety which is activating ABL. Okay. Remember one thing, that the ABL kinase itself, it will start to phosphorylate, okay, proteins, which will ultimately cause more signaling through the pro-growth and pro-survival pathways that are turned on by the hematopoietic growth factors, including the RAS pathway, JAK-STAT pathway, and PI3K-AKT pathway. So in the absence of any growth factors, this BCR-ABL tyrosine kinase, it is start to stimulate the growth pathways. Okay. Now, for unknown reasons, remember BCR-ABL preferentially it causes proliferation of the granulocytic and megakaryocytic series, and it also causes abnormal release of immature granulocytes from the marrow into the blood. So this is the basic thing that we see in case of CML. I hope the basic pathogenesis of CML is very clear to everyone. Yes. Okay. Let us come into the morphology. Now, morphology is very clearly defined by two particular findings. One is the bone marrow finding, one is the peripheral blood finding. I have not given many points, but I have given you few points. Please write these points in your exam. Although you might write 1,000 other points, but these points should not be missing from your answer. So the first finding, if we look at the bone marrow aspirate finding, they are markedly hypercellular. Why they are hypercellular? Can anyone tell me? Because the marrow stem cells, they are having a constitutively active tyrosine kinase called as the BCR ABL tyrosine kinase. And what is this BCR ABL tyrosine kinase doing? Yes, can you tell me what is it doing? This is constitutively activating, it is stimulating the growth pathways, which is causing the proliferation of all the series of cells. Okay, is this point clear to everyone? Yes. So because of massively increased number of maturing granulocytic precursors, okay, And also very importantly, there will be increased number of all the cells, including the eosinophils as well as the basophils. Secondly, megakaryocytes are also increased in number. But one very important point that all of you miss is that over here you might find some small dysplastic forms of megakaryocytes also in case of CML. This is a very, very important finding, okay, that you should not miss from in your answers. Now, erythroid progenitors are usually normal or they might be mildly decreased in number. Now, characteristic finding is, now you tell me, there are so many cells which are proliferating. So many cells will also die. So a lot of macrophages come into the picture to clear out this debris. So it's a presence of scattered macrophages with abundant wrinkled greenish blue cytoplasm called as sea blue histiocytes. Again, this point is missing from most of you people answer. And over a period of time, be any kind of myeloproliferative neoplasm, whether it be CML, polycythemia vera, essential thrombocythemia, or any other. Okay, as the disease is going to progress, there will be more inflammation. Ultimately, there will be overt myelofibrosis, okay, which will be seen, which will be highlighted by the deposition of reticulin. Okay, so these are the bone marrow findings. So let me just show you. This is the bone marrow picture in case of a CML. Now, first thing that you tell me, you have looking at this diagram, what is the first thing that you understand when you look at this picture? Yes.
Hypercellular.
Very good. Is it not hypercellular? It is hypercellular. Now you tell me, are any of these cells present over here? Are any of these cells looking like dysplastic? Is there any dysplasia that you can see? All of them
Normal
more or less
cells.
are showing a
Mention.
normal differentiation. These are very basic points. Many people they do not understand these points. Very importantly, which series show maximum? We can see that myeloid series shows maximum proliferation over here. Yes or no? And if you appreciate very carefully, there is a peak for two series. One is you are having excessive amount of mature neutrophils. Okay, so there is a peak for two series of cells. Neutrophils plus, if you see, what are these cells? What are these cells? These are myelocytes. So
Myelocytes.
there is a peak of neutrophils and myelocytes. These points are very, very important for your answer. So hypercellular bone marrow showing a normal differentiation, increased myeloid series of cells, maximum, and which shows a peak of neutrophils and myelocyte. What I mean to say, that out of all the series of cells like the myeloblast, myelocyte, promyelocyte, metamyelocyte, band cell, and neutrophils, out of all the series of myeloid series, neutrophils and myelocyte, they show a peak. Is this concept very clear? It's very simple if you understand in a very simple manner, and don't read any other thing, just write these points. Okay, these are directly taken and taught to you from WHO. Okay. Okay, now the second thing that we see over here is the peripheral blood finding. So what do we see in case of PBS? Achha, before I go over there, tell me, what is this? What is this? This is the characteristic sea blue histiocyte, which is a characteristic feature found in CML. Okay, sea blue histiocyte. Okay, now what is this? What is this? What is this?
Megakaryocyte.
Okay, this is a megakaryocyte, but what is the classical feature of this megakaryocyte? It
So
is
there is
small,
no lobation.
it is small, it is small, and it is hypolobated. Hypolobated. 99% of you will fail to write this point in your answer. I'm telling you from now. But you don't know, and this question was asked several times in AIMS also in the last 2-3 years. A small hypolobated megakaryocyte, it is the most characteristic feature of CML. Most characteristic feature of CML is the presence of this small hypolobated megakaryocyte. This is a very, very, very important finding that you should not miss out. Okay, so before I come into the blood picture, this is all about your bone marrow picture, and I hope the bone marrow picture is clear to everyone. Yes, I have shown you everything. Now, what about the peripheral blood smear? Now, PBS is very, very important. Why it is important? Because the PBS comes in your exam and you have to draw a PBS, okay, of the same in the exam. I will show you one image also of the same. So in the blood, when you look at the blood picture, when you take out the what should I say, when you take out the reading from the machine, often the total WBC count is very high. Often it is more than 1 lakh cells per cubic millimeter. Now you tell me, what is the normal WBC count? Yes. What is the normal WBC count?
7,000 to 14,000.
4,000 to 11,000 cells. This is the normal count of a WBC. Now over here, there's an excessive amount of these cells. Why it is excessive? I hope you know the answer. And they contain, maximum cells are from the myeloid series in the peripheral blood. And often there is an increased amount of neutrophils and myelocytes. In addition, they have other series also, but majority are neutrophils and myelocytes. Along with that, the presence of eosinophils and basophils are very important. It hints towards the diagnosis. Now remember, blasts usually they make up less than 10% of the circulating cells. So blasts are very less. Platelet counts are usually increased, sometimes markedly. And remember, the spleen is often extensively enlarged. The spleen, liver, as well as the lymph nodes might show enlargement. So hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, lymphadenopathy is there. Why is it there? Why is it there? Because of extensive extramedullary hematopoiesis. Now, if I ask you now if I ask you, why is there an extensive extramedullary hematopoiesis? Yes, can anyone answer? Why is there an extramedullary hematopoiesis? Yes, can anyone tell me? What did I tell you? What did I tell you initially? Yes. Did I not tell you that the same stem cells which are mutated and which are causing so much proliferation of cells, they are also going to the secondary hematopoietic organs like the spleen, liver, and the lymph nodes. As a result, they are causing proliferation of cells in even these sites. So they are causing extramedullary hematopoiesis in these sites. Is this point crystal clear to everyone now? Okay. So let me just show you the peripheral blood picture. Now, can everyone see this particular slide? Yes. This is a case of a chronic myelogenous leukemia. This is the peripheral blood, the PBS. So if you can see over here, we can see all the different types of cells that can be seen over here. Very importantly, the basophils. Okay, myelocytes. Okay, the myelocytes, metamyelocytes. Okay, eosinophils, neutrophils. Okay, band forms can also be seen. Other cells are also there. This is a peripheral blood picture that you are going to appreciate. Is this clear to everyone? So you will see immature granulocytes with basophils as well as eosinophils. Okay, so this is one other picture. What I wanted to show you over here, that all the immature granulocyte series of cells are there, but very importantly, you can see the presence of eosinophils in the picture. Can anyone tell me what are these cells? What is this?
Baso.
Very good. These are the basophils. These are the basophils that we see in case of CML. Okay. Now we'll come to the clinical features of CML. Let us see. Now, CML is primarily a disease of adult, but it can also occur in children and adolescents. Remember, okay, the peak incidence is seen in 5th to 6th decade of life. The disease is quite gradual in nature, insidious onset. Patient will present with mild to moderate anemia, hypermetabolism because of an increased cell turnover leading to fatigability, weakness, weight loss, anorexia. Sometimes the patient will have a dragging sensation in the abdomen caused by splenomegaly. Now you know why splenomegaly occurs. Okay. Now CML is detected, okay, by the presence of BCR-ABL fusion gene by chromosomal analysis. Now remember, the natural history is that of a slow progression, and without any treatment, the patient will survive only up till 3 years. Okay, now 50% of the patients will enter accelerated phase of CML. Now, what is an accelerated phase of CML? I am going to tell you, just wait. So if for example, patients are not receiving any treatment, in that case, 50% of the patients are going to enter an accelerated phase, which is marked by increasing anemia and thrombocytopenia. Remember this. Plus, there will be an increased amount of basophils in the blood. So what is the accelerated phase? I'm going to tell you. This is the criteria given by the WHO for the accelerated phase of CML. Now, you don't have to see all the criteria, but at least these two criteria you remember. When the amount of basophils in the peripheral blood becomes more than equal to 20%, or the blast percentage becomes more than 10 but less than 20, 10 to 19% blast either in the peripheral blood or in the bone marrow. So in this situation, okay, we say that the CML from the chronic phase has gone into an accelerated phase. Okay, so at least remember these two criteria. There are other criteria also, which is only required at the postgraduate level. You need not see. So other factors like if the total WBC count keeps on increasing, or for example, the cytopenias become more and more bad, or the patient in addition to the BCR-ABL, they have more further anomalies, chromosomal anomalies, or any new chromosomal abnormalities are there. So this is the hematological or cytogenetic criteria for labeling a case of a CML as an accelerated phase. But remember, these 2 points are very important. Okay, clear to everyone? Okay, now, for example, within 6 to 12 months, the accelerated phase is terminating into acute leukemia. So for example, a patient develops CML, you did not give any medicine. Over a period of time, 50% of those cases, they went into accelerated phase with an increased blast count and with an increased amount of, and with increasing episodes of thrombocytopenia, anemia, and increased WBC count. Then around after another 6 to 12 months, this patient in the accelerated phase will go into the terminal phase, that is the blast crisis. In the blast crisis, one thing is very important: the blast count becomes more than equal to 20%, which is the WHO definition for labeling a case as acute leukemia. Yes or no? I have already told you about this in the previous lecture, in the AML lecture. Okay. In the other 50% of the patient, the blast crisis can occur even without an accelerated phase. So usually CML has a chronic phase which lasts for 3 years. Then it is going to go into an accelerated phase which lasts for approximately another 6 to 12 months. And that goes into something called as a blast crisis. Okay, remember, over here the blast count is 10 to 19%. Over here the blast count is equal to 20%. Now 50% patients, they go through this. Rest 50% can directly go via this pathway. Is this clear to everyone? Is this crystal clear? Now remember, very importantly, as I told you, the origin of the blast in case of, or the origin of the cells in case of CML, it is a pluripotent hematopoietic stem cell. What is the meaning of pluripotent? Pluripotent means that the same cells that gives rise to myeloid series might give rise to CML, or the same cells that can give rise to the lymphoid series can also give rise to a CML. So in 70% of the blast crisis, the blasts are of myeloid origin. In that case, we call it as a myeloid blast crisis. Whereas in most of the remainder cases, the blasts are of precursor B cell origin, that is lymphoid blast crisis. So the blast can either be myeloid series blast or it can be a lymphoid series blast as well. That is why we say that CML is originating from pluripotent hematopoietic stem cells with both myeloid as well as lymphoid potential. Very, very important concept to understand. Okay, so CML is arising from pluripotent stem cells, and such stem cells ultimately can give rise to blast of either myeloid or lymphoid series. That is why they are called as pluripotent stem cells. Okay. Now the blast criteria, as I already told you, is the presence of more than equal to 20% blast either in the blood or in the bone marrow. And the second thing is the presence of an extramedullary proliferation of blast. If it is there, it is also indicative of a blast phase of CML. Now remember, treatment with the BCR-ABL inhibitors result in sustained hematological remissions in greater than 90% of the patient. Now can anyone tell me one BCR-ABL inhibitor which is used, the first generation drug? Have you heard of imatinib? Yes, there are many kinds of new drugs have also come in. So I don't know about them, but imatinib is one very famous drug that was developed. Okay. So these inhibitors, how do they act? They decrease the number of BCR-ABL positive cells in the marrow. Okay, but remember, these cannot distinguish the CML stem cells which persist at low levels. And as a result, remember, the treatment with this imatinib, they are not curative in nature. Okay, they are not truly curative. They will just decrease these cells, but they cannot eliminate these BCR-ABL positive cells. So that is why if you see after a period of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years after treatment, the patient goes into accelerated phase suddenly. Okay, so complete cure is not available for this. Okay, now very important thing is, but with this therapy, what is very important, the risk of transformation to accelerated and the blast phase is very less. Okay, now the second thing over here is, the other major threat over here that we are having with regards to the treatment is the emergence of resistance to the first generation BCR-ABL inhibitors. So resistance have developed. So now we have second and third generation drugs as well. And remember, if the patient is in a stable phase, he can go for a hematopoietic stem cell transplant. But remember, once the patient develops accelerated phase or a blast phase, then transplantation might or might not help, might be less effective. Okay. So with this, we have completed your chronic myeloid leukemia as well. Now tell me, I will ask you one very important question. Last year actually, in 2020, as I recall, one legendary actor died. And he died of CML only. Can you name the actor? Very famous Bollywood actor.
Rishi Kapoor.
Yes. Rishi Kapoor was suffering from CML, okay, from a long period of time. At the age of, I think he was 67 years aged. So he had CML and he died of CML in 2020. So with this, I'm going to end this lecture. Do you all have any kind of doubt? So I have discussed over here all the phases, the chronic phase, accelerated phase, blast phase, how to differentiate between the different phases, the clinical features of each, the morphological features, the peripheral blood findings, what is the bone marrow findings, what is the pathogenesis of CML. Yes, any doubts, anyone? Yes, any doubts? Okay, so can we conclude today's lecture? Okay, thank you everyone for watching this lecture.